So I've got a nice little row of asparagus here, and my this particular garden is kind of sloped, so I've been trying to experiment here. I put a compost pile at the top, right above this row, and the idea is that as the compost decomposed and the rains come in, it feeds this asparagus, and it seems to be working really well. I've got a couple of gardens that are on a slope like this one, and what I'm going to do, my plan anyway, is to build compost piles along the top edge of them and just let them feed the garden. Just a thought I've been having about it. Anyway, there's some of the compost I pulled out of the pile. I'm going to break it up and use it to plant some asparagus, and I will be showing you here shortly how I plant asparagus. Looks like I'm pretty good at it. I've got some, let's see, it's mid-March, and there it is. It's coming up strong. Looking good. There's some. Got happy asparagus. Anyway, I will get to digging a trench and show you how I like to do this. So I've moved over a couple of feet and dug a trench. It's just how I planted this row. So I'm only putting in 6, so I don't need as long a row. And I chopped out the tree roots that were running the length of my trench, because, you know, that's how it goes when you dig a trench. There's going to be tree roots that run exactly where you're digging. So anyway, I've dug a trench. It's about 1 foot wide or so. Here's my shovel for comparison. Just a shovel width wide, and I'd say it's probably 8 inches deep. And that's how I like to start, and I'll show you what I do next here in a minute. So I've taken that compost. It's pretty old. It's well over a year old, that compost. It was just coop cleanings. And I chopped it up and mixed it with soil, and I've built a little mound up through the center of my trench. And what's going to happen, I've got my asparagus crowns over here in a bag full of wood chips, getting ready. They're in a bag of moist wood chips, just kind of bringing them back to life from having been at the store. If you've never seen an asparagus crown, they look like this. What I'm going to want to do, see, it's nice and moist from spending the last, probably 48 hours in there. Not in, you know, it's not wet, those wood chips. It's just damp in there, so that these can take on a little moisture. And that way I'm not going to be planting some dry stick into the ground and hoping for the best. And you just set it over the mound of rich soil like that, and then I'll be covering it up, leaving 2 or 3 inches below the surface. And man, that's it. Asparagus is easy as long as you do good soil prep. My card filled up, and I had to go take care of my housekeeping on my camera. Anyway, there's the first crown in. I'll be spacing them probably somewhere around 16 inches apart up this row. Just 6 of them, like I said, and cover them up, and that's it. And I'm amazed at how good this soil is. This garden's just a year old. I've only planted it 1 season prior, and you know, we're on Mars, man. Everything is red clay and red sand, but not here. I started putting coop cleanings on this ground a year before I planted, so I started prepping this soil in advance, but I'm just amazed at the outcome. All that goodness just seeping down into the soil, and basically just made this into a garden. And it might look like a mess, but it works. All this, I'll be covering it up with more straw and things out of the coop here just before I plant here in the coming weeks. But yeah, that's how this garden works. This is kind of an experiment that I've been doing, and I'll tell you what, it's great. This is the garden I call the Ruth Stout-ish garden, because it's inspired by the work of Ruth Stout. And if you don't know who she is, you should Google her and look at her gardens and see what she did. She was amazing. Anyway, so that's where I'm at on this deal right now. I'll show you the finish. So there it is, finished. You can see I've kind of left a little ditch on each side of it to let it collect water, and I scattered the leftover compost. I covered the roots initially, the crowns initially, with the soil that I took out of the hole, and then I covered the top with that leftover compost to let it continue to feed on through that soil. But I'll keep an eye on these for a while and make sure that they don't get uncovered, and if they do, I'll just cover them up. And anyway, I'm going to water these in, and that's it for me and asparagus. These ought to live to be 20 years old or so. I'll be eating asparagus when I'm an even older old guy.